Hello everyone, this is our third video of Kubernetes for Hackers series, and in this video we are going to do some actual hacking. So what are we going to cover in this video? So we will cover two different attacks in Kubernetes, which is kind of common, but like I will also explain like how this might be like how easy it is to like mitigate in our real world environment, and like um, whether you're going to find this in an actual prod or not. So the first vulnerability which we are going to cover is something called privileged pods, and the second one is like a different security context of host IPC. Both of them are like somewhat similar but not similar at the same time. So we will see like how we can use or abuse this specific vulnerability to get root or like break out of a pod. So let's get started. So as said, like a lot of vulnerabilities in Kubernetes happen due to misconfiguration. So now like we will use a GitHub repository which is kind of very known in like Kubernetes like security world, or it's a good starting point, which is like badpods.yaml or bad pods from bsofix or bisofix. I'm pretty sure like I'm pronouncing that kind of wrong, but now let's navigate to our GitHub screen. So guys, this is our GitHub repo which we are going to use for example. This is a very good starting point, and you, if you want, you can like explore this repo more, but we are going to manifest directory and we are going to cover priv and host PID attacks. I'm sorry like if I had mentioned host IPC, but like pretty much they all are somewhat similar, and the video will become boring if I go and exploit each one of them. But I'm gonna cover priv and priv with host PID. So we will start with priv, and we are going to exploit a privileged pod, and this is our YAML file. And up here, like if we read the YAML file, we can also identify a big misconfiguration, which is like here, like privileged true. And what does this mean? This basically means that this pod can run as a context of a host machine, and we can read something like here, like we can basically mount the entire file system of the host machine. And basically privilege true also means that it kinda breaks the isolation layer which our container has. Next, we are going to run or like perform an attack through like host PID one, and I will click on pod, and this is our YAML file. And up here we can see that the security context we have privilege true again, and then we have spec host PID true. Basically this means that we can see the processes of the host machine, right? And from there like we can use this specific command to break it in. But like whenever we are going to perform this attack, we will comment it out, and we are going to run this command like manually, of course. So what have we learned yet now? So with privileged pods, like that machine can access the host machine's file system, and it also breaks the isolation layer which a pod or a container is supposed to have. And with privileged pod, it, or you can also assume or like think it as like we are running with the context of a host machine. And with host PID, we can basically access the processes running on the host machine. Now let's get back to our terminal and start performing our attack. So up here, like I have two YAML files. This is a priv.yaml file. We can see the YAML file again up here, and we have security context with privileged set to true. Now we will deploy the pod. We can do something like kubectl apply f priv.yaml, and the pod has been created. Now we can do kubectl get pods, and we can see this pod to be running. So let's exec into this pod. So kubectl exec it priv exec pod, and we will specify bin bash. And now we can see like we are like root in this specific container, but since we are also a privileged pod, let's do df edge, and we can see the host machine's file system up here, like dev vda1. Next we can also do something like this, like we can create a directory in /mnt, and let's name it host mk. It should be mkdir, not kir. Oh, sorry, mkdir. Next we will mount the specific file system on our mount host, and now we can go to mount host ls here, and we can see like a lot of shenanigans from our host machine, which is in turn a minikube, which is again a Docker container. But like if you are like, let's assume like we are on a cloud environment or something, some other kind of Kubernetes environment, you might land on a actual machine, actual Linux machine, and you are going to see a different file system. But for now we are going to see this. Now we can also like view the file system. We can also view like the config files of our Kubernetes. So before that we are going to, let's try to find some important or juicy Kubernetes files. For example, we can see the config file of a control manager. Okay, well, that did not work. Like once you do like some enumeration, like you will come across this directory again. Like in your case, like it might be completely different, and we can like read like a lot of config files which is required by our cluster or Kubernetes, and we can also see like kubeadm flags like .env file, etc. So again, like if you're on a different machine, like I'm on a Mac, so I'm seeing this, but like if you're on a different machine, you might get access to a host file system. Next we are going to like leave this attack now, and next we are going to perform priv with host pid.yaml, and this is our YAML file. We have our API version, kind to be pod, we have the specific name app pentest, and up here we have like host PID true. This basically means that we can view the host like process list, the host machines like actual processes, and again we have our security context to be privileged true. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to deploy it, but before I deploy it on my machine, I need to delete this pod. Let me just delete it quickly. Alrighty, so the pod has been deleted for us. Next we are going to apply it and create the pod. In your case, you don't have to delete it because it might be your first time like creating this pod. Next we are going to see exec into it, kubectl exec -it, and this is our pod name. So let me copy that, paste it up here, and then we can do bin bash, and let's cd into this again. Let's see df edge. We can see again the file system of a host machine, but unlike our previous like attack where we mounted this specific file system, next we have a different capability where we can also list the host machine's processes. So let's do ps aux, and we can see like these are the specific processes running on our host machine, and we can see like container d sham run c, etc. We can see this like ncenter target mount and we can see like also like Kubernetes minikube related shenanigans up here. We can see it's like deploying something through kubelet, etc. Now as an attacker, our goal will be to like somehow access PID1 or process 1. So how we can do it? We have a specific command which we can run. So let me just copy that command real quick. Alright everyone, so we have a command which is this. Let me zoom in, which is ncenter target 1, which is our PID1 mount qt UTS IPC net PID. So basically, like in a very layman's term, this command says like basically make the shell behave like it's running on the host machine, not inside the container. And let me also explain what different flag means. So ncenter is a tool or a binary in Linux which allows you to enter a process, which allows you to enter a different process namespace. Over here, target one basically means that PID1, the main process, which is usually the node, and the minus mount flag basically means that show me the same files on the host machine, and UTS basically means like make my shell use the host machine's host name, and IPC basically means like let me talk to all the processes um, which the host does, and net flag basically means that give me the host's network, not containers network. PID means that let me see all the processes on the host machine. Now let me hit enter, and now we are on our minikube machine. So let me do host name, and we are minikube up here, and from here like we can basically like manipulate anything on Kubernetes because we are on a node, technically on a node. So yeah, we can basically do a whole cluster takeover if we want to from here. Next, something which is very important for us, this was the attack part. Now let's talk about the defense part. So you will be like, hey hack, like these are like very easy to exploit vulnerabilities, are we going to see this in real world or in a real engagement? I personally feel like you're not going to see these vulnerabilities like in most of the cases. Like that's what I believe, because like these are very common misconfigurations and they are also very easy to patch. Not saying that you are not going to find them, but they will be very hard. They are not going to be an easy finding in modern Kubernetes environment. They used to exist, they do now, but the number might be very low or might be very less. But yeah, and they are very easy to fix it. Like in Kubernetes we have like gatekeepers like OPA, and which will basically block the creation of like any such vulnerable pod. So yeah, like we can basically like kill this whole attack before it being even born, right? So yeah, it's like pretty easy fix. And like in our like upcoming videos we will also cover the blue teaming part where we will see how we can actually stop it. But yeah, it's a good vulnerability or a good starting point or a good misconfiguration to start with Kubernetes security. In our next video we are going to cover something related to RBAC or something maybe even fun, but it will be something which will be related to hacking. So yeah, thanks for tuning in guys, and have a wonderful